Part 45. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 465. Kevin McHale is anxious. Harden's defense is still so careless, he shouted, "Defense. Pay attention to your defense." James Harden gave an okay sign to the sidelines, but McHale was still worried. Harden's defense this season is always a bit scumbag. The defensive end is often stepped over. Fortunately, the Rockets have a Dwight inside Howard, otherwise the Rockets' defense must be counted down in the league. After a series of warnings, Harden gestured to defensively. Then, with the Rockets' offense, James Harden held the ball outside, and Anzi slumped down and stood in front of Harden. The two of them did not speak, but Harden gesticulated for a while and looked at the posture. He wanted to single Anzi for a single goal. Although Harden has wanted to single Anzi several times in a row, he has played a few rounds since the opening. Deng succeeded only once with the help of cover. On the contrary, Anzi scored 10 points in a row, which has already beaten Harden. However, the game has just begun, and Harden still has a chance to come back. Now Harden also thinks so. He doesn't know what the media's hype before the game is, what is the battle for the first shooting guard, and what MVP rankings are there. Struggle, although almost every time he meets, he will be exploded by Anzi, but Harden is also holding back his energy and is not convinced. In NBA, no one would take it for granted that they are worse than others, especially James Harden's level of stars. They have exploded too many role players, and they have long been full of confidence in their hearts. However, in this game, Harden ran into Anzi, who was in a state of explosiveness and already full of fighting spirit in his heart. Obviously, his tragedy was inevitable. James Harden's continuous crotch dribble and cross step, then an increase, direct breakthrough, this is Harden's usual routine. Continuous crotch dribble and cross step are fake moves, often easy to deceive the defensive player, the center of gravity, but Anzi is different. He has a good judgment on Harden's breakthrough or fake action. When Harden continues the fake action, Anzi doesn't move, and when Harden increases, Anzi gets entangled. In the midst of the fight, an 11 went straight to his hand, trying to break the ball in Harden's hand. As a result, Harden, who was already in a predicament, seized the opportunity, leaned forward, fell onto Anzi, and then threw the basketball toward the hoop. Beep. The referee decisively blew his whistle. Anzi immediately became happy. It was Harden's anger. Harden played the ball very cheaply. Seeing that there was no chance. As a result, Anzi strengthened and more aggressive defense and gave Harden a chance all at once. Harden walked to the free throw line, made 2 free throws, and his personal score came to 4 points. With the 76 ERS offense, Anzi brought the ball to the front court personally, and Harden's defense was confirmed. Harden is not unable to defend, but his attention is always unable to focus on the defensive end. He always thinks about it. Offense, and once Harden pays attention to defense, he can be considered a good defensive player. Anzi is now in good shape. He still chose to do it alone. He changed the direction of the outside line. After adding Harden, he was still playing the old style before, rushing into the inside and making a jump shot. However, the Rockets took precautions. Chandler Parsons immediately made up when Anzi broke through, but Anzi still took the shot, but the ball brought a bit of receding back to face Chandler Parsons' defense. Threw the ball out. With a bang, I didn't even enter. The rebound was snatched by Howard, Anzi waved regretfully. Seeing Anzi hit the iron, Harden saw the hope of an anti-scoring. In the next round, he continued to attack with the ball and was ready to continue singles against Anzi. Still the same style of play, James Harden's routine is a bit simple. After crossing the outside line, Anzi is strong. Anzi's defense is still very stable and no flaws are leaked. So Harden wanted to repeat the trick and make another foul. But this time, Angzi still did not give in, and still pushed up strongly, using his hands to interfere with Harden's shooting. In the fierce confrontation, Harden once again threw the ball to the basket. With a bang, naturally he didn't enter, but the whistle that Harden was expecting did not sound. This surprised Harden. Angzi smiled. "Is it because you James Harden has a celebrity whistle, don't I? The referee has just blown Harden's star whistle once, but again in a short time. It's impossible to think about it. 2 consecutive fouls have blown Angzi down, so this game will not be played, and the Rockets will be able to win the game." So even though Angzi still faced Harden and defended the ball strongly, the referee did not blow the whistle. Asik grabbed the rebound. "This is a clean defense." Harden was a little dissatisfied and ran to the referee to appeal. Regardless of what Harden said to the referee, Angzi directly asked for the ball and rushed forward with the ball, wanting to advance fast and hit a wave of fast breaks. Seeing this, Harden didn't care about appealing to the referee anymore, and hurriedly turned back to defend. Fortunately, the other players of the Rockets returned to defense very quickly and failed to allow the 76ers to directly play fast breaks. Since there was no fast break, Angzi was not in a hurry, took control from the outside for a while, then handed the ball to Mkawhi and started running without the ball. Around the bottom line, Angzi once again rushed to the top of the arc through the screen. This time, he was suitable for Mkawhi's hand-to-hand cooperation. After receiving the ball, he faced the defending Terrence Jones and shot a three-pointer again. With a bang, the three-pointer was a bit shorter, and Angzi still failed to score. But as far as Harden is concerned, he is a bit confused now. Angzi's defense is like a copper wall. He can't attack. Now the foul referee doesn't blow. After thinking about it, Harden can only continue to hold the ball from the outside. Call for cover. With Terrence Jones' screen, Harden stepped up. After the change of defense, the player defending Harden became Pau Gasol. Gasol could only retreat and wait for Angzi to catch up. Harden took a step inward, raising his hand to hit Gasol's head. At this time, Angzi rushed out from behind Harden, with a big volleyball cap behind him, snapped the basketball out. "Big hat? Pretty." James Harden continues to deflate. He was guarded by Angzi again, and this time he took a big hat. Harden's depression has reached a critical point. After reballing, he catches the ball and shoots, facing Angzi's defense, and throws a buzzer. There was still no entry. The score was still 106, and for several rounds, neither team scored. However, it is clear that the 76ers have the advantage on the field. Angzi continued to attack with the ball after continuous strikes. Harden defended Angzi from a distance. He took it for granted that Angzi, who had struck twice in a row, would definitely not shoot another three-pointer. But Angzi did the opposite, and when he closed his feet, he got another three-pointer. Swish, hit again. Director Jong sighed and said, "Angzi's three-pointer has scored again. He has already scored 13 points, this feels. It's unreasonable." At 13:6, on the Rockets side, Harden continued to attack with a dark face. Facing Angzi's defense, he also tried to draw a three-pointer from the outside, but he didn't make it with a bang. Since the beginning of the game, Harden made 1 of 6 shots and only scored 4 points, while Angzi turned directly with Harden and made 5 of 7 shots with a hot touch. After Harden missed a three-pointer, Angzi was no longer confined to his personal offense. He began to create opportunities for his teammates. The ball was quickly transferred from the front court. Angzi ran out of the ball without the ball. After receiving the ball, the Rockets turned and the defensive player made it up. Angzi did not stick the ball and passed the ball directly into the penalty area. Omer Asik hid. Howard, who drove back to the defense, completed a light buckle with a click on Howard's head. Facing his old club, Omer Asik also successfully scored. At 15:6, Kevin McHale called a timeout. For the Rockets, only 4 minutes into the game, the point difference is about to go to double digits. The start of this game is obviously terrible and can't be worse. James Harden continued to fight for iron, and Kevin McHale wanted to replace Ha. However, considering that the team still needs Harden to contain Anzi, he gave up this idea. However, after the timeout, Kevin McHale made arrangements to ask the team to attack more inside, allowing Howard to take more positions and take more shots. After the timeout, the Rockets began to shift their offensive focus to the inside. Harden played for Howard. Howard beat Asik to the basket and scored 2 points. The 76ers offense, Anzi continued to take the ball from the three-point line, and after a breakthrough, it attracted double teams. Anzi scored again, and Paul Gasol hit a mid-range shot, 17:8, the 76ers still maintained with a 9-point lead. On the Rockets side, after the outside screen, Chandler Parsons shot the ball and hit a three-pointer with a scream. But soon Anzi returned to the game. After the same screen, he left Harden and scored a three-pointer. At 2:11, the point difference is still 9 points. Chandler Parsons' three-pointer has not been able to narrow the point difference for the Rockets. Ugio praised, Anzi played so well. Just after halfway through the first quarter, he already scored 16 points. Director Jong also smiled and said, yes, in contrast, Harden has been completely compared. Up to now, he has only scored 4 points on 1 of 6 shots. The gap is too obvious. The gap is really obvious. The 76ers have maintained a 9-point lead thanks to Anzi's excellent swing. It seems that if it weren't for Chandler Parsons and Dwight Howard's offensive scoring, there would be a 9-point difference. It needs to be further expanded. Immediately after the Rockets' offense, Harden's breakthrough was unsuccessful. Anzi's defense was still stable. He could only choose to pass the ball and hand it over to Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons caught the ball with an extra breakthrough, faced Jack Lauder's defensive throw and shot. With a bang, the basketball smashed the rebound, and finally bounced into the basket. At 2:13, the Rockets' star was completely locked up by Anzi, but Chandler Parsons began to lead the team to score consecutively, clinging to the score. In the 76ers position battle, Anzi handed the ball to Pau Gasol for high support. Gasol took a chance at the top of the arc, and finally chose to come by himself. After 2 shots of basketball, he took 2 steps to the inside, and one was adjusting. The shot was shot, and it hit with a scream. At 22:13, it was still a 9-point difference. 8 Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 466. Anzi clings to Harden. Harden still has no chance, he can only choose to pass the ball. The first quarter quickly reached the last few minutes, and the two teams successively replaced players. Harden, who performed poorly, was quickly replaced by Kevin McHale. The Rockets replaced Evan Turner, Anzi's former teammate. As soon as Turner came on the field, Anzi greeted him. The two players who were already opponents came instead with a high five. After Evan Turner played, he played the shooting guard position and played against Anzi. He was also holding back his energy and being traded by his own parent team. Evan Turner was in a bad mood. Although he often wins in the Rockets and wins more than in the 76ers, he gets fewer opportunities. There was also a knot in it, and to the old master, Evan Turner just wanted to prove himself. This game was full of self-certifications, naturally also because of the trade between the two teams on the trade deadline day. After Evan Turner's appearance, the Rockets' defense was a little better. After the last 2 minutes, the 76ers scored 38 points in an away single quarter, and Anzi scored 22 of them, completely suppressing Harden in his personal performance. The 76ers scored 39 points in a single quarter, while the offensively disadvantaged Rockets scored only 23 points. At the end of the first quarter, the Rockets fell behind by 16 points. In the second quarter, taking advantage of Angzi's departure to rest, the Rockets replaced Harden. Without Angzi's containment on the field, Harden, like the grandson monkey without the suppression of the Tathagata Buddha, began to make trouble in the heavenly palace. Harden made a burst of shots and scored consecutively. Within a few minutes, he beat the 76ers 13-2. The 76ers only relied on one of Sean Livingston's mid-range shots and scored 2 points. The point difference was also lost. Reduced to 36-41, the Rockets are only 5 points behind. Taking advantage of the chance of a dead ball, Brett Brown had no choice but to replace Tathagata Foangzi. However, the Rockets' offense was the Rockets' offense when Angzi was not on the court. Harden took advantage of the opportunity that Angzi was not on the court. He scored 8 points with 2 of 4 shots and free throws. With the data in the first quarter, he had already scored 12 points on 3 of 10 shots. With the first goal of Angzi's bench, Harden also continued his touch. With the help of the screen, he moved one step and avoided Angzi's interference and made a three-pointer. With a swish hit, Harden scored another 3 points. He scored 15 points on 4 of 11 shots, and the score of the two teams also came to 41-39. In the 76ers offense, Sean Livingston took possession of the ball for halftime, and Angzi directly reached out for the ball. Harden continued to defend Angzi. In this game, the serious Harden still defended very well, at least he won't miss people easily, and he won't show his eyes on defense anymore. N11, who had just appeared on the field, also found a touch, broke through to the middle distance, leaned on Harden with his back, turned and leaned back for a jumper, but did not make it with a bang. Fortunately, Cole Aldridge did a good job of protecting the rebound, and directly pressed MaleProtagonist to grab the rebound, and then a pass was passed to the basketball. Angzi just ran out of the three-point line, catching the ball and making another three-pointer. Swish. Angzi suddenly waved her long arm. Go in again. Angzi scored the 5th three-pointer in this game. His personal score has come to 25 points. The Rockets attacked, James Harden continued to attack with the ball, but Angzi's emergency stop jumper was interrupted and missed. Cole Aldridge continued to suppress MaleProtagonist and grabbed rebounds. The Rockets' current inside combination is MaleProtagonist and Terrence Jones, and they are really poor in protection of inside rebounds. After Angzi played, they let Cole Aldridge pick up 2 rebounds in a row, one of which was offensive rebounds. After Cole Aldridge grabbed the rebound, he immediately gave the ball to Angzi. Angzi quickly advanced with the ball and rushed to the front court, forming a fast attack. Rushing into the three-point line, Angzi made a diagonal cut and cut into the penalty area. Evan Turner hurriedly rushed to block Angzi, with both hands in front of him, trying to make Angzi an offensive foul. However, Angzi was very thief. He rushed to Evan Turner, turned around with Turner, and then turned to the basket to succeed. At 46-39, the score expanded to 7 points, Evan Turner slapped the basketball fiercely, and then retreated outside the touchline to serve. Harden has an offensive with the ball. He is now 4 of 12 shots and his shooting percentage is horrible. But Harden obviously doesn't have LeBron James's habit of always paying attention to his shooting rate. For his shooting rate, James Harden doesn't value his shooting rate as much as James in the East. He made a breakthrough and was interfered by Angzi again during the layup, and the basketball was rubbed. The edge of the basket bounced out. Angzi grabbed the rebound, turned around and shot the ball in large strides, directly launching a fast break. The Rockets retired hastily, Angzi accelerated, and a rapid change of direction from outside the three-point line past James Harden and went straight to the basket. MaleProtagonist quickly let go of Cole Aldridge and rushed to make up the defense. The Rockets moved for a while and filled the vacancy, unwilling to give Angzi a chance to pass the ball. Angzi didn't pass the ball, he was sideways against MaleProtagonist to shoot from close range. MaleProtagonist quickly jumped, trying to block Angzi, but Angzi shook, leaning forward and changing hands to the basket. Beep. The basketball was put into the basket by Angzi, and MaleProtagonist, who jumped onto Angzi, also committed a foul. Angzi stepped to the free throw line and made an extra free throw. At 49-39, the points difference was directly stretched to double digits. Kevin McHale hurriedly called a timeout. The scene was out of control. Angzi, who reappeared, scored another 8 points in a row. James Harden, who had just gained momentum, was also quickly caught. Angzi pressed back. After the timeout, Angzi could clearly hear the shouts from the Rockets bench. Obviously Kevin McHale was very dissatisfied with Harden's performance. After shouting a few times, the Rockets did not change. They continued to be point guard Jeremy Lin, shooting guard Harden, small forward Evan Turner, and the combination of Terrence Jones and MaleProtagonist inside. Seeing that McHale did not change, Director Jong shook his head. McHale's on-the-spot directing ability is too bad. If the ball is played like this, there is no substitution. Harden is the star. Although he played poorly, he can. Not to change, but these few have a big problem with the inside of the Rockets. The two insides are too soft. At this time, you should switch back to Howard. On the one hand, you should strengthen the defense, and on the other hand, the offensive end will continue to go deep inside. The Rockets did not replace Howard, but their offensive focus has shifted to the inside. Harden passed the ball to MaleProtagonist, who played Cole Aldridge inside singles. He played Cole Aldridge with his proficient inside footsteps, and he turned around and made it to the basket. 2 points hit, 49-41, the point difference returned to single digits. The 76ers attacked, they continued to seize the opportunity. Angzi slipped through the bottom line, and instantly attracted the Rockets' 3 people to encircle. Francisco Garcia rushed to the corner to receive, and an 11 passed the ball directly. Francisco Garcia, who got an open chance, made a direct 3-pointer. Swish, a 3-pointer hit. At 52-41, the 76ers continued to expand their lead. Kevin McHale hugged his head. When the Rockets allowed Angzi to play singles, Angzi scored consecutively. When they developed special defensive tactics, Angzi assisted his teammates and scored. Angzi was almost omnipotent. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 467. As soon as Angzi played, Harden was suppressed, and the Rockets were at a disadvantage. After the offensive end was adjusted, they could score, and the defensive end was still messed up. Even so, McHale was still reluctant to replace Howard. However, McHale attaches great importance to the team's offense. In the case of the team's offensive disadvantage, Chandler Parsons was replaced and Terrence Jones replaced. The main lineup on the court was small. But this way, it gives the 76ers an opportunity to expand the score on the offensive end. As soon as Angzi holds the ball, the Rockets continue to double teams, and even multiplayer double teams. Once the Rockets double team, Angzi passes the ball. The teammates also had a tacit understanding. As soon as Angzi broke through, they immediately started running and pulling, forcing the Rockets to make up defenses, but in the end there will always be a position to miss. Finally, Angzi's accurate pass can find a chance. With the opportunity of the Rockets' lax defense, Francisco Garcia scored 2 more 3-pointers. This game may be his best game in Philadelphia. After hitting 3-pointers in a row and the final attack before the end of the midfield, Francisco Garcia also took advantage of the opportunity of all the Rockets players to pay attention to Angzi's breakthrough, cut into the interior, received the ball and made a layup. In the end, the 76ers scored another 35 points in the second quarter. At halftime, the score of the two teams was already 73-52. The Rockets were 21 points behind. Looking at this situation, the 76ers have to clock in 3 quarters to get off work again. This lap of their Western away trip was very smooth. The last game in San Antonio was an unexpected 3-quarter clock in and off work. As long as there are no surprises in the third quarter of this game, maybe it will also be a 3-quarter check-in to get off work. Yes, now the regular season is almost over, and the rankings of the East and West playoffs have basically been determined. The 76ers and the Rockets are the same. They are both in the 3, 4, and 5 places in their respective divisions. It's too big. If you are about 20 points behind in 3 quarters, maybe Kevin McHale will give up the game. Director Jong and Uchiha discussed the issue of clocking out of get off work in the 3 quarters. During the intermission, Kevin McHale was furious in the locker room. He hoped that the team could exert force in the second half to narrow the current point difference. McHale focused on criticizing HA after the first half. Harden made 5 of 16 shots and scored 16 points from free throws. It seems that the scoring is not low, but Harden's efficiency is too low, only 16 points on 16 shots. If you count free throws, Harden wasted more shots. On the other hand, Angzi scored 36 points in the first half, and only took 15 shots, making 10 of 15 shots. The efficiency was more than that. Even Turner Sports' Amy Johnson believed that the Rockets fell behind in the first half because of Angzi. He blasted Harden, and now the 21-point difference is actually the difference between Angzi and Harden, or even more. Angzi continued to play in the second half, and the two teams all appeared on the field. After McHale turned on the hairdryer mode in the midfield, everyone in the Rockets was expressionless and looked very motivated. Beverly broke out first. Harden took possession of the ball from the front and then passed the ball to Beverly, who was running without the ball. Beverly seized the opportunity and made a 3-pointer, although it was much better than at the beginning of the season. But Nkawa's current defense is still a major shortcoming of the 76ers. Beverly shot cold arrows to succeed. The score came to 73-55, reduced to 18 points. In 76ers offense, an 11 deliberately returned a goal, but the Rockets were very tight on him and there was no chance, so an 11 made a gesture and started to break through. Jack Lauder understood and started to run. An 11 rushed into the inside line from the bottom line. A group of people immediately surrounded Angzi and blocked Angzi. Jack Lauder flew to the bottom corner, another set of tactics for the bottom corner, but the Rockets were still fooled. Jack Lauder was unguarded at the bottom corner, and Angzi passed the ball. Jack Lauder aimed at the basket from the bottom corner, then shot. Chandler Parsons turned around and rushed over, but to no avail. Swish, the ball is in. Angzi assisted Jack Lauder and scored a 3-pointer. 76-55, the difference is still 21 points. The Rockets continued their offense, but the 76ers quickly increased their defensive intensity. Howard played singles inside. An 11 broke the basketball in a timely double team. Then the offense and defense changed. The 76ers launched a fast attack and rushed to the front court. Angzi took advantage of the Rockets to return. Unprepared, he scored a 3-pointer. With a scream, chase 1/3 of your body and hit it again. At 79-55, Kevin McHale almost couldn't help but called a timeout at the beginning. The 24 points difference, the Rockets continued to attack. Chandler Parsons broke through the ball, and Terrence Jones on the other side made a false shot from the outside, but his luck was not very good. The inside layup didn't make it. The rebound was also in the arms of Asik. The Rockets missed consecutive offenses. The 76ers took advantage of the situation to widen the point gap. Angzi passed the ball to Nkawa to cut into the inside. Nkawa broke through to attract the defense and scored the ball to Pau Gasol. Gasol went from the other side of the basket. The basket succeeded, 81:55, the points difference came to 26 points. Now McHale sat back in his seat instead, and didn't mean to call a timeout. Director John was a little surprised, and then analyzed, maybe Coach McHale thinks that the points difference has reached 26 points. The 76ers are in such a good state and feel that the Rockets don't have to struggle anymore, so they simply left the game to the players' freedom. Play. If the point difference is too big after 3 quarters, the Rockets will just give up the game. The team didn't score consecutively and Harden was also anxious, because Anzi put too much pressure on his defense, so Harden learned in the second half and created more opportunities for his teammates. As a result, his teammates didn't score. Harden thought for a while and decided to play a goal by himself. Outside with the ball and singles Anzi, after a continuous outside cross-step change, Harden speeded up and broke through Anzi. Anzi also moved a step sideways to wrap up. Rushing to the inside, Harden made an emergency stop and shot a jumper. An 11 jumped up and reached out to interfere with the ball. With a bang, Harden also failed to score. However, Howard grabbed the rebound and added 2 points. The Rockets scored here, but the 76ers lost the offense. Anzi missed a mid-range jumper. Howard grabbed the rebound again, then passed to Harden and launched a fast break. Howard grabbed 2 rebounds in a row, but Ugia questioned McHale. Howard grabbed 2 rebounds in a row. With such an inside barrier, McHale will also be responsible for the loss of the Rockets in this game. Director John nodded and then turned his gaze to the sidelines. Harden rushed to the front, and an 11 quickly retreated. The two met again in the front court, and they were still one-on-one in the fast break. With a bang, Harden lifted the ball to lay up. Anzi slammed the basketball with his big hand, a clear shot, and to fly the basketball. It's another shot. Anzi locked Harden again. Even if it is a fast break opportunity, Harden can't break through Anzi's defense. Director John shouted excitedly again. The basketball flew to the 76ers front court and happened to be picked up by Mkawhi, who rushed to the back court to defend. He turned around and launched a fast break, rushing into the inside to complete a dunk with a bang. At 83:57, the difference is still 26 points. But then, the Rockets relied on Howard's strong inside singles to score consecutively, but the 76ers relied on Anzi's offensive threat to make consecutive three-pointers. After 2 or 3 minutes, the Rockets had no problem with their offense and kept scoring, but the points were poor. Expanded to 29 points. At the end of the third quarter, the Rockets trailed by 28 points. Kevin McHale replaced all the main players, replaced the bench, and surrendered. The 76ers also followed the Rockets and replaced them on the bench. As a result, Anzi completed another 3 quarters and got off work. Anzi scored 42 points in the third quarter, plus 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, 12 of 20 shots, and 8 three-pointers at the same time. The offensive end was completely complete. That blasted Harden. The same is true on the defensive end. Anzi's Harden made only 6 of 20 shots, scored 22 points from free throws, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, and 6 turnovers. Both offensive and defensive ends were blown by Anzi. In this game, Anzi completely realized his plan and he beat Harden. The game ended. The 76ers beat the Rockets 129-108 away. A 21-point victory gave them 12 straight victories. The team's condition became more and more hot. Instead, the West away trip achieved a wave of 2 consecutive victories. All 3 quarters clocked in and out of get-off work. The Rockets and Spurs are also the top 5 teams in the Western Conference. Such a victory is obviously very convincing. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 468. Anzi is too strong. This game is another 40+ scoring, and it is 40+ in 3 quarters, assists in double figures, efficiency is bursting, Amy Johnson lamented Angie's strength. On the sidelines, after the game, James Harden was being interviewed by reporters. "Yes, I played very badly in this game. I don't want to find any reason. I will definitely play back in the next game. And he did a great job. He is a very strong opponent. I really didn't play well in this game, but that doesn't mean I'm inferior to him. Yes, I played very poorly in this direct duel, but there are other reasons for that, I don't want to say more." MVP rankings. And should indeed be in the top 5. Myself? I refuse to answer this question. James Harden was a bit tough. Faced with repeated questions from reporters, James Harden still thinks that he and Angie are comparable opponents. At the same time, he also admitted that Angie should be in the top 5 of the MVP rankings, but for his own MVP rankings 4th. The location, I don't want to mention it at all. Angie also answered a few questions in the visiting team's locker room, and then was about to leave the arena. Walking outside the locker room, Evan Turner just came over and stopped Angie, and, "Are you leaving Houston tonight?" Angie stopped and shook his head, "We will stay in Houston and rest for one night." Let's go out and have a hilarious meal." Evan Turner took Angie and left, and Angie was not hypocritical. Meeting old teammates should also go out for a meal. Angie said hello to the coach of the team, and then got into Turner's car in the parking lot of the Toyota Center. In addition to Angie, Mkaway and James Anderson also came along, and the 4 of them appeared on the streets of Houston. Finally found a bar and sat in. 4 people chatted for a while, and Evan Turner mentioned the current situation of the 76ers. "And, this season, do you have a chance to compete for the O'Brien Cup?" Angie naturally nodded. From Pau Gasol to the 76ers, the goal of the 76ers has become a championship. You also have a chance. Although the Rockets are in the West, they are at least the top strong teams in 11 also side. After Evan Turner's transfer, his situation has not changed, but the Rockets who joined him are also a strong team. Evan Turner has the opportunity to hit a championship in the Rockets. But after Angie finished this sentence, Evan Turner shook his head, "The Rockets are hopeless. James and Dwight lead the team. How strong do you think they can be?" Angie stopped talking, and Mkaway asked why like a little white. Angie did not explain, Evan Turner did not explain, but James Anderson explained, "Dwight Howard and James Harden are not good leaders, the playoffs are tough, the Rockets can't go far." Okay, let's not talk about this topic, let's talk about the latest movies. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Angie interrupted James Anderson and changed the subject. The colorful night in Houston, it was already late at night. Angie stopped Evan Turner, not allowing him to drive when he was drinking, and sitting in the main driver if he was not drinking, first sent Evan Turner home. "Evan, I drove the car to the hotel. Tomorrow you find time to get it?" Before leaving, Angie looked at Evan Turner and said one last word. "Evan, don't say anything else. If you are willing to come back, I will ask Sam to leave you a place forever. If you come back, we will fight the O'Brien Cup together." When Evan Turner was sent to Houston, Angie thought it was an opportunity for Turner, so he didn't think much about it and didn't stop it. The starting center, but for Evan Turner himself, he is undoubtedly going to a team with fewer opportunities. James Harden likes to do everything, and in the 3rd position, the Rockets also have Chandler Parsons, a promising small forward, so Turner's chances are few, even better than in the 76ers. Less. Now the 76ers also need a player who can lead the second team to play. If Evan Turner does not renew his contract with the Rockets after the expiration of his contract, he will return to the 76ers. After winning consecutive away games against the Spurs and Rockets, the 76ers ushered in a 12-game winning streak, and their record also came to 51 wins and 23 losses. On the same night, the Heat lost in an away game against the Raptors, but they lost 83-93. Given the Raptors, the Heat's record came to 51 wins and 22 losses, one less game than the 76ers, and one less game lost. Therefore, after the 76ers' 12-game winning streak, they are only half a game behind the Heat. The Pacers are slightly ahead. They have won 54 games, but have also lost 20 games. They are currently 3 games ahead of the 76ers and 2.5 games ahead of the Heat. The gap with the Pacers is a bit big, but there is only a half-game gap with the Heat, which gives the 76ers a new goal. They want to surpass the Heat and become second in the Eastern Conference. In any case, the goal of the 76ers is already the O'Brien Cup. Although many people are not optimistic about the 76ers are still working hard for the playoffs. The regular season rankings are higher. The home and away advantage in the playoffs is even greater. The first game in April was also the last game of the 76ers away trip to the West. They challenged the Clippers away. Prior to this, Anzi had defeated Carmelo Anthony and James Harden in a direct duel. North American reporters talked a lot. They believed that regardless of the outcome of the game, Anzi would be in the top 5 of the MVP rankings. In the end, this away game against the Clippers became a game where the 76ers ended their winning streak. They lost to the Clippers 98-107 away and ended their 12-game winning streak. But Anzi lost the game, but won the statistics. He scored 33 points, 4 rebounds, 11 assists, 5 steals and 2 blocks in the game, completely crushing the Clippers' weak forward line. Chris Paul's performance was pretty good, scoring 22 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists and 2 steals, but in contrast, he was still a step weaker than Anzi. The Clippers were able to win because they were better. In the defensive system, Blake Griffin scored 27 points, 8 rebounds and 4 assists on the inside, and DeAndre Jordan scored 20 points, 14 rebounds and 5 caps. The 76ers were blown away by the Clippers on the inside. Draws. This loss shows that the 76ers still have problems. The inside combination of Pau Gasol and Omer Asik looks good, but in fact the speed is too slow, and it is easy to be destroyed by that kind of dynamic inside, such as this one. DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin on the field. On the same day that they lost to the Clippers, the league announced the March Player of the Month Anzi, who averaged 30-plus points per game and close to double-digit assists, became the Eastern Conference's Best of the Month in March. Player, the Sixers only lost 2 games in March, and a 12-game winning streak made the Sixers the first-tier strong team in the Eastern Conference. Such an excellent state deserves the election of Anzi. On April 4, the 76ers challenged the Celtics in an away game. The final score was 111-102. The 76ers won with 9 points, 52 wins and 24 losses. The Heat lost to the Timberwolves at home, but they won the Bucks on April 2, so the Heat's record is 52 wins and 23 losses, and their winning margin with the 76ers is still halftime. On April 5, the 76ers returned to the home court, back-to-back to the Nets, 105-101, a 4-point win. The 76ers lost all the pressure to the Heat. The Heat faced the Knicks on April 6, who are still fighting for the playoffs. This game is not easy to play, and the Heat are playing very hard, but they have realized that the 76ers are chasing after them. The Big Three gritted their teeth and did not give up the game. A wave of 33-19 in the last quarter, the Heat won the game with 102-91. On April 8, the Heat played away to the Nets, and the Nets were also fighting for a playoff spot. In the first 3 matchups between the Heat and the Nets this season, the Nets tripled the Heat. If the game continues to win, that entire season, the Nets will achieve the feat of 4 kills the Heat. For the Heat, this game obviously cannot be lost. But in the first quarter, the Heat collapsed. Wade didn't play. Chris Bosh made 0 of 3 shots and didn't score a point in the first quarter. LeBron James coldly scored 2 of 4 shots and scored the team's highest 6 points. The Heat also fell behind by 12 points at 14-26 in the first quarter. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 469. For the Heat, falling behind in the first quarter makes them feel bad. David Fizdale made adjustments. In the second quarter, LeBron James brought a group of shooters out, and it really got a miraculous effect. Rashard Lewis and Ray Allen each hit 3-pointers, and the Heat hit the Nets 29-18 in the second quarter, reducing the point difference to only 1 point. However, in the third and fourth quarters, the Nets' all-veterans showed off. The Heat and the Nets drew a 44-44 draw. The final 1-point difference never narrowed. In the end, the Nets defeated at home 88-87. Heat, 4 kill the Heat in the season. However, for the 76ers, the Heat's loss means that the 76ers officially tied the record with the Heat. Both teams are 52 wins and 24 losses. Became the second in the East. With 6 games left in the season, the same record of the two teams has changed the playoffs in the East again. The number 1 Pacers in the East have won a wave of 2 consecutive victories in the last 2 games, and basically stabilized their position. They are 3.5 wins away from the Heat and the 76ers. Unless there are 2, the 76ers and the Heat will catch up. It is unlikely. The second and third changes in the Eastern Conference don't seem to have changed much, and will not have much impact, but who will go ahead and who will be the second round of the playoffs is related to who the home court advantage belongs to in the second round of the playoffs, and who is the first round of the playoffs. The 7th team, who plays the 6th team, the actual impact is still relatively large. The 4th and 5th in the Eastern Conference are basically determined. The Bulls-Raptors record difference is not big, and there may be changes at the end of the season, but in general, the first round of the playoffs is the Bulls versus Raptors. 6th to 8th in the Eastern Conference have not yet been determined. The Wizards, Nets, Hornets and Hawks all have hopes of breaking into the top 8. The Wizards and the Nets have the greatest hope. The Hornets and Hawks are likely to be out. The Eastern Conference is currently ranked 10th. The Knicks, because of a 2-game losing streak, broke into the top 8 with only theoretical hope. The Cavaliers have already been out early in the first few games, so overall, the playoff situation in the East has been basically determined. In the West, the top 3 have also been determined. The Spurs, Thunder, and Clippers have locked in the top 4 in the West. The Rockets, Trail Blazers, and Warriors, and Grizzlies compete for 4th to 7th, and the Mavericks and Suns have a chance for the last spot. There is not much suspense in the West. Perhaps the biggest suspense is whether the Mavericks or the Suns will make the playoffs. Angzi also has some concerns about the West. The old father-in-law's first coaching career seems to have some seats in the playoffs. Danger. In the Eastern Conference, the competition for a place in the playoffs is fierce. The top 5 did not fluctuate much. As a result, the 76ers had a 12-game winning streak, and they were about to compete with the Heat for second place in the Eastern Conference. On April 9, the 76ers challenged the Raptors away while the Heat challenged the Grizzlies back-to-back. Since sending Rudy Gay away, the Raptors are getting better and better. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan have formed one of the strongest guard combinations in the league. Lin Chan Lin Ji, head coach Dwayne Casey has also won the honor of the best coach of the month. At the end of the season, there are even rumors that Dwayne Casey is likely to be the best coach of the regular season this season. The Raptors' current record is gradually approaching 50 victories, and their backcourt strength is still very strong. In this game, the 76ers fell behind in the first half. The away game, including the last month, has been very good. Angzi, they all played a bit badly. They trailed the Raptors by 8 points at 60-68 in the first half. Then in the second half, the 76ers offense improved, but the defense was even worse. Kyle Lowry held the ball in the backcourt and broke through, or scored or passed the ball to assist teammates to score. After repeated attempts, the game failed. At the end, the 76ers lost the game 114-125 away. It looks like the Heat can breathe a sigh of relief. But they went to the West and played a back-to-back match against the Grizzlies. They were strong. After the 76ers started the game, the Heat heard that the 76ers had lost, and the fighting spirit immediately came. The first in the East can't think of it, and the second in the East still has to do its best to keep it. But after the game started, the Heat realized the difficulty of winning back-to-back. Wade still couldn't play, relying on the outbreak of James and Bosh. The Heat scored 32 points in the first quarter, but they also allowed the Grizzlies to score 31 points. In the second quarter, the Heat continued their efforts and continued to expand the point difference. After halftime, at 58-54, the Heat led by 4 points. But in the second half, the situation changed suddenly. The Grizzlies played a wave of 12-2, an instant go-ahead score. Fortunately, David Fizdale's timeout was called in time and stopped the team's decline. But falling behind is already inevitable. After 3 quarters, the Heat are 8 points behind. In the fourth quarter, the Grizzlies continued to expand the point difference and played a strong defense. In the fourth quarter, the Heat only scored 15 points in a single quarter. In the end, the game ended and the Grizzlies won the game 107-92 at home. The Heat, who lost the game, failed to seize the opportunity. Their regular season record was still the same as the 76ers, 52 wins and 25 losses. The 76ers continued to rely on the win-loss relationship between the two teams to suppress the Heat. On April 11, the Heat faced the Pacers, and the direct matchup between the first-tier teams in the East attracted the attention of the United States. The 76ers played against the Grizzlies at home, which was also a duel. Although the playoffs are just around the corner, and many playoff teams have begun to rotate players, let the bench at the end of the bench come on the court to find state, so that the main force can get plenty of rest time, but Dave Georgel doesn't seem to think so. He's still choosing to let the team's main players all play, obviously unwilling to lose the game. The 76ers and the Heat started at the same time, and the two teams also paid attention to each other. On the 76ers side, assistant coach Lloyd Pierce takes out his mobile phone from time to see the Heat's game. There is also a text live broadcast on the North American side. The speed is still very fast and very convenient. The game between the 76ers and the Grizzlies went very smoothly. Anzi had an excellent performance at the beginning. He did not perform well in the last game. He scored only 24 points in the game and his shooting percentage was even worse. He only made 7 of 24 shots. In the end, the 76ers also lost the game. In this game, Anzi recovered the lost state and scored 8 points in a row at the beginning. Although it gradually fell silent afterwards, it was because Anzi turned to help his teammates score. Now the 76ers game is basically a routine. Anzi first uses his personal ability to score, then attracts defense, and starts to help his teammates score. Gradually, Anzi's shooting field is opened, and the shooting field of his teammates is also opened, and the game will win. Up. Once Anzi performs poorly, such as the last game, the 76ers may lose. It's not impossible to defend Anzi at the beginning, but as long as Anzi's teammates are in good condition, defending Anzi at the opening will also die miserably. For example, the 76ers previous game against the Spurs opened the game against Anzi. Strictly guarding, Anzi simply didn't score anymore. He kept on assisting his teammates to score. In the end he won the game and set a personal assist record. It was the same in this game. Anzi scored first and then helped his teammates score. At the end of the first quarter, the 76ers took the lead with 30:24. Lloyd Pierce, who is always paying attention to the situation on the Heat side, shook his head. No, the Heat are also in good shape. They are only 2 points behind in the first quarter. Anzi wiped his sweat, and said with a smile, 2 points behind in the first quarter shows that the Heat still have hope of losing. We have a chance. In the second quarter, the 76ers continued their efforts and extended the difference to 10 points. On the Heat side, Chris Bosh played hard, scored 8 points in a row, pulled the score back, and at halftime, he led the Pacers by 3 points. Charles Barkley, who explained the Heat and Pacers game, said, "The Heat can't lose this game anyway. Now they still have a chance to take back the second place in the Eastern Conference, but if they lose, then they can only be in the Eastern Conference. The third place is for the playoffs." In the past 2 years, there have been many strong teams in the NBA, but the Eastern Conference can't get second. The Heat will find it difficult to gain an advantage in the second round of the playoffs. The 76ers are also very strong. That's hard to say. Fortunately, the Heat performed very tenaciously, and in the critical battle, they burst out huge energy. At the beginning of the second half, there was a wave of 11:0, which directly opened the point difference to 14 points. Lloyd Pierce turned off his phone and sighed, "The Heat have won, so don't look at it." Brett Brown nodded, well, we must also win this game." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 470. In the second half, the Heat had a burst of strength and finally won the game. The 76ers were not to be outdone. They originally had a 10-point advantage. In the second half, they continued to expand their lead and eventually defeated the Grizzlies with a victory of 117-95. 53 wins and 25 losses. The 76ers and the Heat's regular season record is still the same, but this time the Heat should be anxious, because by virtue of their mutual record advantages, the 76ers ranked ahead of the Heat. At the end of the season there are 4 games left, and the Heat and the 76ers have a direct duel, and the North American media believe that the Heat's last chance is that game. At the end of the season, Anzi and his teammates were still engaged in 3-on-5 defensive training, and there was a shout in the training hall. Defensive defense. Pass the ball. As in the previous few times, the quintuplet Nkaway, James Anderson, Troy Daniels, Francisco Garcia, and Pau Gasol, the trio Anzi, Jack Lauder, and Omer Asik. I have been practicing 3-on-5 for almost a month, and the trio has occasionally succeeded in defensive. It seems that the effect is average. However, Anzi still did not give up training. He felt that this 3-on-5 training is very useful for the construction of the team's defense system. Although the effect is not very obvious until now, the 76ers' defense is still unstable and it is easy to be blown up. On the field, Nkaway passed the ball to Francisco Garcia. For the first time, Jack Lauder blocked Garcia. Garcia made a breakthrough, passed the ball again, passed to Troy Daniels, and Anzi rushed over. For the third pass, Jack Lauder moved a step ahead of time and directly blocked James Anderson, who was receiving the ball. It looked like he was about to succeed. Anzi was happy, but James Anderson didn't stick to the ball at all. After he got the ball, he immediately passed it out. Nkaway took the ball again, hit the inside, and faced Asik's supplementary defense. A ground pass assisted Pau Gasol to score. With 5 passes, the 5-man offensive team won the game dangerously. After winning the game, James Anderson was relieved and smiled, and, "You lost again." Anzi shook his head. "Losing is normal. It's strange if you don't lose. 5 passes, as long as the offensive team plans well, it can finally open up the shooting space. Occasionally, the defensive team won once, and it was so lucky. It happened that Angzi and Jack Lauder blocked all the outside shooting points. For example, this time, Jack Lauder moved early and almost let the offensive team lose. If it weren't for James Anderson's unsticky pass, which caught Angzi and Jack Lauder by surprise, perhaps this time the defensive team would have succeeded. The 3-on-5 practice was conducted by Angzi during their lunch break, so other players either sat on the sidelines and watched the 3-on-5 match, or just sat on the sidelines to rest. After playing a 3-on-5 match, Angzi and the others chose to rest. There will be another match in the afternoon. If you continue to practice, stop playing the match in the afternoon. Chinese people are rich in mobile phones, and the same is true in the United States. Once they sit down and rest, everyone is too lazy to chat. They take out their phones and swipe their Twitter. Angzi tweeted, and now many people frowned and clicked in to take a look. It turned out to be the latest issue of the MVP ranking. This issue of the MVP ranking is also the last issue of the season. And, look, the latest MVP ranking on NBA's official website, you rank second. The teammates also got the news. In the latest MVP ranking on the NBA official website, Angzi finally entered the top 5, and it was directly ahead of Chris Paul, James Harden, LeBron James and Paul George, and directly ranked in behind Rand. He ranked second. NBA's official website commented on Angzi, averaging less than 3 points per game, top 5 assists in the league, and top steals in the league. Angzi's personal performance is extremely good, and the team's record is quite perfect this season. Angzi is a strong contender for MVP in the regular season. Is this going to change directly? A question mark was written on an 11's face. In the past, Angzi was not allowed to make the top 5, but now he is placed in second place, ahead of LeBron James. Angzi is speechless and painful. Now he can only say, fortunately, the reporter of NBA's official website. He was not allowed to take the first place, otherwise the media in Oklahoma City and Miami would attack Angzi collectively. The teammates smiled, and one by one they also picked up Angzi. Kawhi thought that Angzi was second and there was nothing wrong with it. The original words are like this, and, I think it was NBA's official website that they suddenly ignored you, and then after thinking about it, they found a most reasonable place for you to insert. Jack Lauder also echoed, yes, there is nothing wrong with ranking second. In terms of personal performance this season, BN is outstanding, and there is only one Kevin Durant, right? That's right. G is right. Angzi was also speechless for a while looking at this group of natural teammates. But Angzi himself feels that he is second, and there is definitely no problem. Angzi's personal data is better than James. Originally, his record was slightly worse than that of the Heat. Now he is catching up with him. Isn't it normal for him to rank higher than James? In the last few games of the season, Angzi and his team won consecutive games. In order to overwhelm the Heat, they simply did not want to let go of a victory. First, the away win over the Bobcats, and the Heat over the Wizards went hand in hand. Then beat the Bulls at home, and the Heat also won the Hawks. In the penultimate game, after the 76ers defeated the Celtics at home, they waited for the results of the Heat and Pistons. On the same day, Abby Hornacek also returned from Phoenix. Because the Suns had already declared out of the game 1 game in advance, the Mavericks broke into the playoffs at the last minute and there was no playoffs to play. Jeff Hornacek thought for a while, so he stopped staying in Phoenix and took the family with him. Arrived in Philadelphia. On the one hand, the daughter is pregnant and needs to rest. At this time, it is best to be with her son-in-law Angzi. On the other hand, Jeff Hornacek felt that since he couldn't make the playoffs, he might as well come to Philadelphia to cheer on Angzi. So Jeff Hornacek came, and Abby came back with him. Angzi found a few laborers to move the large bags of luggage upstairs, and then watched Mrs. Hornacek and Abby pack their luggage and put the things where they should be. Angie and Jeff Hornacek stood bored, then walked aside and chatted. "And, do you and Abby have plans to get married?" Abby has been pregnant for more than a month, but the two have never mentioned getting married, although there are many examples of not getting married and having children in the United States. Jeff Hornacek doesn't care about getting married or not, but if Angie has this plan, Jeff Hornacek will also have to prepare well, such as inviting a few NBA's old teammates and friends to the wedding or something. And 11 nodded, "Well, I actually have such a plan, but the regular season and playoffs have been playing games. If we are preparing for the wedding at this time, it will be too rushed, so I am going to wait for the end of the season and prepare for it, or next year get married, or just get married during the off-season this year." Jeff Hornacek was relieved. He smiled, took a cigarette out of his pocket, and lit it himself. He knew Angie didn't smoke. "And, the next game will be your final battle with the Heat. I heard that you are fighting for second place in the Eastern Conference." And 11 nodded again. "Well, it seems that if we break into the second round, our opponent must be Miami, so grabbing the second place in the Eastern Conference can help us win the home court advantage." Jeff Hornacek spit out the smoke out of the window, then smiled and explained, "Abby is pregnant, I don't dare to smoke too much. Fight, I think it's hard for you to beat the Heat in the playoffs, and a triple kill in the regular season is not bad." Jeff Hornacek's last sentence is a bit unfavorable for the 76ers and the Heat's postseason match showdown. "Why?" Angie was a little surprised. "The game hasn't played yet, not to mention that the 76ers have an advantage over the Heat in the regular season." "There is a problem with your lineup," Jeff Hornacek said unclearly. Angie wanted to ask what the problem was, but Jeff Hornacek didn't say anything but said, "Actually, I'm not quite sure. Let's talk about it when you face the Heat in the playoffs. I will help you analyze the situation." 8 Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 471. What is wrong with the Sixers lineup? Jeff Hornacek is reluctant to say more. Angie guessed for a while, but didn't guess why. Abby returned to Philadelphia, but Angie left. In the last game of the regular season, they need to go to Miami to challenge the Heat. The regular season is about to end, and the ownership of each regular season award has also attracted heated discussions. The regular season MVP has always been related to the regular MVP rankings. This season Kevin Durant sits firmly in the first place and rarely drops to second or third, plus the Thunder's current record of second in the league and Durant's scoring lead. Basically there will be no big surprises about the ownership of MVP in the regular season. It was an accident that Angie broke into second in the final period, but whether it was personal data or team record, Angie was a bit worse than Durant, so several North American journalists believed that Angie could not pose a threat to Durant. However, MVP's second vote has attracted heated discussions. Originally, the suspense of MVP's second vote is not very big. It is basically LeBron James. However, at the end of the season, the 76ers had a 12-game winning streak, plus Angie, who ranked second in the MVP ranking in the last period, making people doubt whether LeBron James can secure his second place in the MVP ranking. At this time, the final game of the regular season, the 76ers away to challenge the Heat, became important. The MVP vote was also decided by various North American reporters and TV commentators. The suspense of the first MVP vote is not big, and the second suspense basically depends on the result of the final match of the regular season. Journalists and TV commentators will also pay attention to this game. Whoever chooses their second vote depends on the performance of Angie and LeBron James in this final battle. Tom Moore is an old journalist in Philadelphia. Although the Heat and 76ers battle is the last of the regular season, it is foreseeable that the two sides will do their best for home court advantage in the playoffs. This will be a big battle. Maybe outsiders don't think so, but the 76ers and Heat fans are still very concerned. Tom Moore also went to the scene to report the game. The 76ers fans think very simple and beautiful. If they win this game, they will be a counterattack. They will feel very happy. If they don't win, they will not have too many ideas. Anyway, the performance has surprised them very much, and the difference between the second and the third is not much. On the Heat side, they are gritted their teeth. This season, their regular season record is not the first one, and they can't get the second one? What championships are you competing for like this? Disband as soon as possible. Regarding the fact that the Big Three team won 3-runner UPS in 3 years, most fans in Miami encourage the Big Three not to give up and continue to work hard, but many fans have always felt that the performance of the Heat Big Three has failed their support. The team hasn't had a championship for 3 years, and this season is even worse. It is going to be ranked third in the regular season. It seems that this season even the finals is hopeless. Some fans in Miami are cold and don't want to support the team anymore. Although the game on April 16 was a crucial one, the number of fans in Miami's home stadium was much less than usual. Large blocks of empty seats appeared in the American Airlines Arena. Miami's football market was originally very ordinary, but the formation of the Big Three in 2010 really caused a wave of fire in the Miami market. Everyone believes that the Miami Big Three, which is at the peak of the team, is likely to create an unprecedented one. We, as LeBron James said at the time, is not 1, 2, 3, not 4, 5, 6, but 7, 8, 9, or more. At that time, the naive Miami fans still believed that the 10 consecutive championships would not be a problem for the top Big Three. As a result, reality gave them 3 heavy blows. The Mavericks, Spurs, and Spurs teamed up for 3 years, and the Big Three achieved nothing. Although the Heat made a comeback this season, Miami's own fans are not optimistic about the Heat this season. Before this game, the 76ers had achieved the goal of 55 wins proposed by Brett Brown. Their current record is 56 wins and 25 losses. The same is true for the Heat, which is 56 wins and 25 losses. So judging from the record, North American media reporters still very optimistic about the Heat. They are not as pessimistic as the fans. At least 56 wins in the regular season, not bad, not so bad that the playoffs cannot find competitiveness. With the Big Three, the Heat still have the ability to compete for the title this season. ESPN even believes that in any case, the Heat will continue to maintain the dominant position in the Eastern Conference. Although the Pacers and 76ers have not bad records, they want to challenge the Heat. It's a little far off. Before the game, a large number of media reporters gathered in the American Airlines Arena Player Channel. The NBA Players Appearance show started here. LeBron James appeared in a denim suit, and the reporters rushed up to shoot with their cameras. James greeted the reporter he knew well, and seemed to be in a good mood. Looking at the situation, Tom Moore boldly asked a question. "LeBron, I want to ask, if you lose this game and fall to third in the Eastern Conference, do you still have confidence in the playoffs?" LeBron James quickened his pace, but he still answered the question, "We have always been confident." The answer was perfunctory, and the pace was still swift. Turning around, LeBron James walked into the locker room with a dark face. Tom Moore was stopped. He didn't know that, in order to maintain his image in public, LeBron James concealed his anger, answered questions perfunctorily, entered the home team locker room, and then he said nothing. Having achieved his position, his good mood was immediately destroyed. Sitting in his seat, LeBron James began to think about the reporter who had just asked him a question. It seemed that he was a reporter from Philadelphia. After thinking about it, he became even more unhappy. At this time, David Fizdale walked in, and then, after finding the tactical board and preparing for a while, David Fizdale clapped his hands. "Although we have lost to the Philadelphia 76ers twice this season, I think everyone understands that we are far better than the other team. But why we lose to one team again and again? Was it a lottery team last season? The reason is simple: we are ourselves. We don't pay enough attention to the 76ers. Not only the 76ers, we don't pay attention to the Nets, we don't value the Grizzlies, no attach importance to the Eagles, not to so many teams, so that we lose a lot of games that should not be lost. There is a saying that the arrogant soldiers will lose. We always think we have LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris, we can be proud of the entire league. David Fizdale began to scream hoarse, but LeBron James seemed to disagree. He pouted and put on his headphones. David Fizdale didn't seem to notice the action of LeBron James putting on the headphones. He continued, "But this is not the case. Because we always lose to our pride. And now, I need you to tell me loudly. Do you want to win this game? Or, you are going to lose to the Philadelphia 76ers for the third time this season? A team that is not as strong as ours. If we lose this game, maybe it's not the end of the world, but entering the playoffs with a third place, that would be our shame." David Fizdale triumphed and shouted, "So, in order not to shame us, let us beat the Philadelphia 76ers. Beat the Philadelphia 76ers. All the Miami Heat players roared out of determination under the encouragement of head coach David Fizdale. Although LeBron James wanted to prove himself by defeating the 76ers, when he and his teammates chanted "Beat the Philadelphia 76ers, he would still be somewhat unnatural, and his heart felt frustrated. Then go out. Go and beat the Philadelphia 76ers. Wash away all the shame and get our glory back." David Fizdale clapped his hands fiercely. His task was completed, and the players' fighting spirit came up. Although it seems that LeBron James is still the same, sitting in the corner with a cold face, wearing headphones and saying nothing, it seems that the fighting spirit in the dressing room has nothing to do with him. 8 Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbulatinji. Chapter 472. This is the second time the 76ers have visited the American Airlines Arena this season. In the last game, the 76ers won by an absolute advantage, and Angzi crushed James on both ends of the offense and defense. As a result, the revengeful Miami Irons sent a wave of boos when the 76ers played. Although there were not many fans on the scene, the boos they produced were still very loud. For the last time the 76ers and the Heat faced off this season, Turner Sports took it extremely seriously and temporarily changed the game to a national live broadcast. This season, the 76ers national live broadcasts were almost temporarily adjusted. Before the start of the season, no one thought that the 76ers could make the playoffs, and even competed with the Heat for second place in the Eastern Conference at the end of the season. So the 76ers national live broadcasts, not many, they are basically all US live broadcasts of strong teams. The strong performance of the 76ers after the start of the season also forced Turner Sports to continuously adjust the number of national live broadcasts. The final battle of the season will naturally be included in the national live broadcast. The commentary partners sent by Turner Sports for this game were Groom Albert and Reggie Miller. The two greeted in front of the camera and then began to understand. "Groom, this game is the first time you have come to the American Airlines Arena to explain the game, right?" Reggie Miller and Groom Albert don't often partner together, and Groom Albert is a resident of California this season. The team commentary: "So this is the first time this season came to Miami?" "Yeah, this is the first time I have come to American Airlines Arena this season, but after so long, the number of fans in American Airlines Arena has become so few." Marv Albert looked around, looking a little surprised. Reggie Miller also nodded, "Yes, there are a lot fewer fans. It seems that the Miami people are dissatisfied with the Heat's record." The two counted the dissatisfaction of Miami fans with the team, and the game began soon. "Well, boys, listen to me. Before the start of the game, Brett Brown urgently did pre-war mobilization. Although this game is the last game of the regular season, although we have locked a place in the playoffs, This game is equally important to us because we need this victory. We need this victory to prove that we can beat the Miamians. We need this victory to maintain our current ranking and enter the playoffs with second place in the Eastern Conference. Although the Miami Heat have a big three, although they are the Eastern Conference champions for 3 consecutive years. But this season, we have double killed the Heat. If we win another game, we will triple kill the Heat. So, be confident, boys. For Philadelphia. For the 76ers. Tonight, we are going to beat them again. Brett Brown said impassioned. He raised his hand and the players folded their hands together. For Philadelphia. For the 76ers. The slogans were shouted loudly, the Miami fans on the sidelines booed again, the starting players of the two teams walked to the center of the court, and the referee also came to the center of the court holding the basketball. Reggie, this game is about to start. What do you think of this game? I mean, you think that team has a better chance of winning? Now the records of the two teams are exactly the same, but the difference between them, the relationship between victory and loss, is surprisingly 2 wins and 0 losses for the 76ers. Marvin Albert took advantage of the last gap before the game began, and raised questions to Reggie Miller next to him. It's hard to say. But I think the 76ers have a bigger win. You prefer the 76ers? Yes, Reggie Miller nodded. The reason? What is it? It's not because you told me you admire Anzi, right? Because Anzi is always able to stand up at critical moments, because of Anzi's tenacious fighting spirit on the court, and because Anzi has become an all-star from a role player step by step. Therefore, Anzi has a group on Turner Sports TV. Commentator fans, Reggie Miller is also one of them. Reggie Miller admires Anzi for a different reason than most commentators. He simply saw from Anzi their enthusiasm for singles against each other, and no one agrees with each other. The current NBA really lacks such enthusiasm. However, Reggie Miller is optimistic about the 76ers, not because he appreciates Anzi, of course not. The 76ers have no injuries at present, and the Heat's Dwayne Wade is still unable to play. Anzi's growth has also made him become with a strong player on both offensive and defensive ends, coupled with the addition of Pau Gasol and Omer Asik. The 76ers are far stronger than when the two teams played against each other twice. The last 2 matches, the 76ers won. Reggie Miller gave a good reason. Marv Albert also nodded. He had to admit that Reggie Miller was right. Wade can't play in this game. The Heat is equivalent to having one arm cut off, with only 2 legs and 1 hand left. Facing the 76ers with thick arms and thick thighs, the Heat naturally not being optimistic. At this time, the starters of the two teams have already stood on the field, and the game will start at any time. Anzi and LeBron James stood side by side, but apart from the momentary eye contact, they didn't have any interaction at all. In this game, Anzi came to the position of small forward. Because Wade didn't play, Anzi took the initiative to apply to play against LeBron James. This is where Reggie Miller appreciates Anzi the most. If you change to another star, you might have long since let the coach arrange an engineer to deal specifically with LeBron James, but Anzi chose to apply for himself and take the initiative to confront LeBron James when the team has a natural engineer named Jack Lauder. Facing difficulties, not afraid of challenges. In the commentary, Marv Albert and Reggie Miller continued to discuss who the two teams are stronger. So Reggie, what if Dwayne Wade comes back? Do you think which of the two teams is stronger? Maybe he didn't think he was clear enough, Marv Albert added. In other words, these two teams, the team is likely to enter the Eastern Conference semifinals, so who do you think has a better chance of breaking through the semifinals and entering the Eastern Conference finals? This time Reggie Miller's answer was not so simple. He thought for a while before slowly replying, Heat. In terms of team strength, the stronger is the Heat. They have the big three, and they have one more. A mature system and a group of stronger role players. Sure enough, if Wade returns, even Reggie Miller is more optimistic about the Heat. Beep. The referee's whistle sounded, the basketball flew to the sky, Omer Asik and Chris Bosh jumped up. The game has started. With a snap, Chris Bosh pressed Asik and first touched the basketball. The jump ball won. Mario Chalmers waited on the other side of the court and looked up at the basketball, ready to catch the ball. But Chris Bosh dialed the ball harder, and Chris Anderson, who was following Bosh, could not catch the basketball, and the basketball immediately leaned toward the other side. Mario Chamos was taken aback, turned around and hurried to chase the ball. Angzi saw the opportunity, he took a risk, rubbed LeBron James's shoulder, and rushed through halftime. The fans at the Miami home stadium had discovered the danger, and they let out an exclamation. While everyone in the Heat was still staring at the basketball, Angzi took a leap and rescued the basketball that was about to fly out of the sideline in the expressions of everyone's surprise. Then, taking advantage of the fact that almost everyone in the Heat was still stunned near the middle circle, Angzi accelerated, turned and changed directions, and wiped it from Mario Chalmers. Boom, the exclamation grew louder. Angzi, he seized an opportunity. Is it going to be deducted at the beginning? Reggie Miller widened his eyes and looked at an 11, and behind an 11, was the Heat player who returned to defense in horror. Angzi jumped up from the free throw line one step inward, then turned around in the air, a 360-degree turn, and all the fans in the Miami home stadium had stood up. Turn around. Change your crotch. There was a loud noise. Angzi smashed the basketball into the hoop. Dump dunk. Beautiful. Angzi took a chance and jumped within the free throw line. 360 degrees in the air, turned and changed hands for a dunk. Too powerful. Angzi gave all the fans a perfect dunk in the opening game, Reggie Miller commented on the ball. And the groom Albert on the side kept shouting, 10 best ball. This ball is definitely today's top 10 ball. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 473. Angzi had a dunk action in the slam dunk contest at the beginning of the game and won the full house. LeBron James was originally not in a good mood, and it was even worse. Of course, this does not affect LeBron James' determination to win this game. After a brief astonishment, the Heat served in the backcourt. Mario Chalmers quickly handed the basketball to LeBron James to organize after half the dribble. It's not surprising that James faced Angzi. Although Jack Lauder's defense is good, he can only limit LeBron James at best. If you want to really deflate James, you have to defend Angzi himself. In the first offense of the Miami Heat in this game, LeBron James unexpectedly did not choose to go it alone. Although James wanted to lead the team to defeat the 76ers, LeBron James's personal offensive desire was not strong in this game. He seems to be more inclined to organize the offense and help his teammates score. According to the media evaluation, LeBron James plays very reasonable, sometimes too reasonable. He passed the basketball to Chris Bosh, who got stuck behind Pau Gasol near the middle distance. In the last few key games, Bosh is in good shape, so James is also willing to hand the basketball to him. Bosh played Pau Gasol with a single back near the middle distance. Although he did not have any advantage in physical fitness, relying on technology, Bosh still easily avoided Gasol's block at the middle distance position. Throw the basketball towards the hoop. The basketball got into the net smoothly and Bosh waved his hand. In the last few games, his state is indeed very good, and this excellent state has continued. The score was tied, and the Miami Heat's first offense finally ended with Bosh's goal. Both teams scored, but this is obviously not what the Heat fans who came to the American Airlines Arena tonight want to see. They want to see the Heat suppress the 76ers at the opening and make the 76ers lose a point, and even more want to see it. LeBron James can start the game and end the suspense of the game. Heat's owner Mitch Allison also appeared on the sidelines. He sat silently behind the Miami Heat's player bench to watch the game. For the Heat's regular season performance this season, Allison is very dissatisfied. In this game, Mickey Allison issued a military order to the team and must win. Just because the playoffs were approaching, Allison didn't mention what would happen if he didn't win, but Pat Riley, who was also sitting on the sidelines, knew that if the Heat really lost, he and David Fizdale would both have to dismiss get out of class. Maybe postponed because of the playoffs. But as long as the Heat can't win a championship this season, he and David Fizdale have to get out, and the Big Three may also be disintegrated. After the offensive and defensive transition, the 76ers quickly advanced past the half-court. Mikal took control of the ball and faced Chalmers. Anzi stepped forward and made a high pick and roll for him. This is a fake pick and roll cooperation. As soon as Anzi finished blocking, Kawhi's pass was in Anzi's hands. Although LeBron James reacted quickly, Anzi had already taken possession of it. Taking the first opportunity, he leads James by half his position. LeBron James didn't give up on defense. He didn't want an 11 to cut into the inside and score so easily. He still followed an 11 closely, ready to send a big cap on the back when an 11 shot. At this time, Chris Anderson saw this and hurriedly jumped out from the inside, seeing that Anzi and LeBron James would be blocked at the top of the penalty area. Anzi hit the earth directly without any hesitation. The basketball ejected through the ground, passing between Chris Anderson's spread legs, and brought an exclamation on the scene. Omer Asik received the basketball in the paint zone. Then came a two-handed dunk. Wow! This pass is so imaginative, Marv Albert shouted. The score became 2-4, and the away 76ers took the lead again. Anzi's pass is very beautiful. But in the final analysis, LeBron James's defense was too careless. He should focus on preventing Anzi from running without the ball that may come at any time. Reggie Miller praised it very much. Running without the ball, and this ball, he believes that LeBron James's defense is inattentive. If James can get stuck in Anzi ahead of time, then Anzi will not open the air cut so smoothly. Reggie Miller criticized LeBron James. LeBron James on the court also seemed to think that his defensive performance was not good. He wanted to use his offensive performance to make up for the defensive mistakes. He took the ball in the backcourt and LeBron James took the ball directly. Attacked the front court. LeBron James made a direct breakthrough in the front court. He rushed all the way to the inside of the 76ers and looked unstoppable. Then he jumped up, and 11 did not lose his position. He jumped almost at the same time, and 11 stretched out his big palm, successfully interfered with James, forcing James to change his original intention to dunk, and pulled to the far end to complete the shot with a hook in the air. Hit the board. It was a 4-4 tie. There was a wave of cheers in the arena. Both sides seemed to be in a good state at the beginning. LeBron James finally scored. The fans in Miami were satisfied and cheered frantically. Anzi once again confronted LeBron James, who is known by fans as the #1 man in the league today, on the court. Yes, even if this season's regular season MVP will be won by Kevin Durant, it is in the hearts of fans. LeBron James is still the first man in the league today. Both Anzi and Kevin Durant are just LeBron James challengers. Although Anzi has won James twice, this time is likely to be the third time. But in the minds of fans, LeBron James's status cannot be replaced by newcomers. The 76ers played a 10-10 opening game with the Heat. The two teams had a relationship with each other. In the personal contest between Anzi and LeBron James, they also fought a match. During the 10-10 tie between the two teams, Anzi scored 4 points, 2 assists and a steal. LeBron James, who was against him, contributed 6 of the 10 points. There is also an assist. Obviously in this game, both of them are in good condition, and there is no situation where Anxi suppressed LeBron James in the first two games. It seems that this game will be a wonderful personal duel. Anxi and LeBron James has put out his personal best performance. The team's victory and the personal duel victory are put together. On the court, the Heat have the ball right. Mario Chalmers still passed the ball directly to James, who was in the high post, after advancing halftime, and he ran to the wing to act more as a single space for players with the ball. The bottom corner shooter. After LeBron James got the ball, he dribbled the ball directly, and then rushed directly towards Anxi's defense. So far in this game, LeBron James has made 3 of 5 shots, and all 3 of the hits were made by a strong push towards the inside. This time, James drew on the gourd, still intending to attack the inside. His previous scores have greatly increased his confidence in breakthroughs. This is how he is. The good situation in front of him can easily make him forget about it, and he is not afraid of the danger of using old moves. James rushed inside. Relying on his strong body, he hit Anxi, and then he stepped on the sideline of the penalty area and jumped up suddenly. But when he tried to lift the ball from his arms over his head to finish scoring, Anxi was already one step closer to him. Anxi's defense in this game was not very good. Under the impact of LeBron James, there were not many truly successful defenses. Until the game, LeBron James has not really been crippled under Anxi's defense, the only one. That steal was also a steal for the Heat's pass. And this time, Anxi seized the opportunity. The timing of his attack was just right when James jumped up and lifted the ball up. The basketball escaped from James' embrace, and then was pulled down by Anxi. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 474. LeBron James felt something was wrong at the moment when Anxi took the basketball in his arms. He let out a cry and tried to win the referee's sympathy with a painful cry, but the referee was indifferent, and the referee on the bottom line could see clearly. This is a clean defense. And now Anxi has more referee advantage than LeBron James. LeBron James has lost the favor of the league because of the decision event, and Anxi is the new favorite of the league. Although the degree of favor is not as good as the 3 whistle of the Thunder, it is against LeBron James. Anxi still has certain advantages. Anxi stole the ball against LeBron James, Marv Albert exclaimed excitedly. This is Anxi's second steal in this game. This season, Anxi has the highest steal in the league with an average of 3.4 steals per game. At the top of the list, he is one of the strongest steals in NBA history. Anxi's steal changed the rhythm on the court in an instant. The 76ers turned from defense to offense, and there was a flood of boos from the sidelines, which seemed to prevent the 76ers from fast break. Anxi did not stick the ball after the steal. He directly passed the basketball to Mkaway, who was running in front. Mkaway rushed to the front court and directly made a light layup and scored 2 points. 10-12, the 76ers lead by 2 points. After Mkaway scored, he looked a little excited and waved his arms continuously. In the last game of the two teams, because of a malicious foul by Mario Chalmers, Mkaway left the field due to injury and had a rest after the game. After several games, he even missed the All-Star Weekend Rookie Challenge. In this game, Mkaway performed well, and it was a little revenge. But soon, the Miami Heat, who were determined to win the game, equalized the score. James completed a high pick and roll with Bosh in the front court and then passed it back to Bosh. Bosh stepped on the three-point line to make a jumper and equalized for the Miami Heat. Score. After the offensive and defensive transition, the 76ers still steadily attacked. Pau Gasol supported him in a high position. Anxi ran without the ball and then received the ball. After attracting the defense, he passed the ball to Pau Gasol and Gasol catches the ball and hits a mid-range shot, scoring 2 points. After regaining the lead for the 76ers, Pau Gasol had already scored 6 points in this half of the quarter. Then, Pau Gasol continued to score. At the end of the first quarter, he was brayed. Tebron changed. At this time, Pau Gasol had already scored 10 points. The weakness of the Heat's interior is a well-known thing, so there is no reason for Brett Brown and his 76ers not to take advantage of such a weakness to play some simpler and more effective offense. The first quarter was quickly over. The 76ers relied on Pau Gasol's internal scoring and Angzi's outstanding performance. At the end of the first quarter, they led the Miami Heat with 3 points at home with 26-23. The 76ers took the lead again, and Mitch Allison frowned. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with the team's performance. It doesn't matter if the 76ers weren't beaten in the opening game, but they are still behind. This performance is obviously not like a championship team should perform. Pat Riley is also very disturbed and twisted. This season, due to Wade's injury and the conflict between Chris Bosh and LeBron James, the Heat's performance is better than the first 3 years of the Big Three team. Bad. After watching the first quarter of this game, even Pat Riley had no confidence in the team he had formed. The 76ers took the lead in the first quarter, but in the second quarter, the 76ers were not so strong. The Heat's bench is very strong. In this game, the Heat's starting shooting guard is Courtney Lee, so Ray Allen has become the leader on the Heat's bench. Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis have scored consecutively and equalized the score. At the same time, there is a tendency to gradually widen the points difference. At this time, Brett Brown also responded quickly and directly replaced Pau Gasol. Gasol's appearance eased the pressure on the 76ers. When the main players from both sides returned to the court in the middle of the second quarter, the score was 38-39. Under Gasol's effort, the 76ers kept it. Their own lead, they were not pulled away because of the Heat's strong bench. After the main force came out, the 76ers still maintained a 1-point lead. An 11 was replaced, and Pau Gasol was replaced again. Brett Brown was going to let an 11 take the main bench and the mixed lineup to finish the second quarter. But in the first round of Angzi's appearance, the ball is in the hands of the Heat. For the Heat, this is an excellent opportunity to overtake the score. LeBron James took the initiative to catch the ball from the backcourt, and Angzi waited for James' arrival in the front court. James held the ball to half the court and then stopped because an 11 was on the three-point line. Obviously, an 11 understood that the best way to defend LeBron James was to take 2 steps to defend James' breakthrough. However, James' long-range shot was not bad this season, so Angzi moved another step towards James, and after 1 step, he stretched out his hand to guard against any possible moves by James. James chose to break through. He didn't get too entangled with Angzi in the high post. After observing the situation on the court and discovering that his teammates had already opened up space for him, James' choice naturally had no suspense. The first step of James' breakthrough was extremely fast, and because of the tonnage issue, he appeared extremely mighty, like a tank moving at high speed, but Angzi was not afraid of this. His physical fitness was also not bad, and he reserved a step for him. Angzi looked calmer in the face of James' accelerated breakthrough. Angzi blocked James near the free throw line. He is in front of James. Although this can't completely prevent James from breaking through, it can make him understand that if he continues to walk inside, he can only be forced out of the penalty area. So James stopped on the free throw line with an emergency stop, and then he suddenly raised his hand, looking like he was about to make an emergency jumper. But Angzi didn't fly forward, because James suddenly threw the basketball to his right when he lifted the basketball over his head. Angzi saw through the true story of this fake cast. Mario Chamo suddenly cut in empty-handed. The timing of his cut seemed just right. Everyone focused on the personal duel between Angzi and LeBron James, but Mario Chamo suddenly came out. Chalmers got the ball and faced the 76ers' empty weak side penalty area. After receiving the ball, he chose to speed up and take 2 steps, and then take off in the penalty area. The Heat's home fans exclaimed, seeming to be exclaiming for Chalmers' upcoming dunk, but LeBron James, who has been paying attention to the movement of the penalty area, knows that this is not the case. Is Anxi. The moment LeBron James passed the ball, an 11 turned around and rushed towards the penalty area, and then, at the moment when Chalmers flew with the ball, he appeared in the sky above Mario Chalmers. Even LeBron James did not expect that Anxi could see through his fake moves and appeared in the penalty area in a very timely manner. Mario Chalmers has been unavoidable, he is not a monster like LeBron James, and the air changes are also very difficult. Although he is still trying his best to avoid Anxi's cover, the fact is, Anxi has fixed him. With a loud bang, Mario Chalmers was flipped to the ground by an 11's hat. An 11 used enough strength for this ball. Chalmers couldn't even struggle and fell heavily from the air to the floor in a straight line. The expression on the face looked a bit painful. Anxi obviously had spare energy. After landing, he grabbed the basketball directly and shouted, "Quick break." Mkaway reacted. He had been as a spectator before, watching Anxi hat flip Mario Chalmers, and he felt happy, and when he heard Anxi's shouts and reacted, his attention was more concentrated. Jack Lauder has rushed to the front court. Anxi long pass. Basketball leaped everyone, including the Heat's return defense players, directly and accurately into the hands of Jack Lauder. Jack Lauder is also a dunker full of energy. He rushed to the front court and after receiving the ball, he faced an undefended basket. So, no longer hesitating, he jumped up, banged, and dunked the basketball heavily. Pretty. Jack Lauder's dunk. The 76ers are raging on the Heat's home basket, Groom Albert shouted, and Reggie Miller followed. Anxi's long pass is very accurate, and his defense and blocking are also very surprising. No one could have imagined that he would appear in that position. In the last second, Anxi was still defending LeBron James. In the next second, he had already blocked Mario Chalmers' dunk. His defense is really too strong. To be continued.